Look at this shoot. It is allocating cellular resources to drive a vertical path, splitting into its first structural fork. A standard botanical stem operates through two baseline functions, structural support and vascular conduction. It acts as a physical scaffold, bearing lateral organs like leaves, flowers, and fruits against the downward pull of gravity. It also serves as the central biological highway, conducting water and nutrients between the roots and leaves through the xylem and phloem. This diagram identifies the non-negotiable anatomical markers. The specific points where leaves attach are defined as nodes. The spacing between these nodes is the internode. Growth initiates from specific clusters, the axillary buds located at the node intersections and the terminal bud at the apex. These three anatomical markers, nodes, internodes, and buds, constitute the definitive identity of a stem, regardless of its outward appearance. Environments are rarely optimal. Pressures like severe drought, predation, or the mechanical need to climb disrupt this standard growth pattern. To survive these pressures, the morphological blueprint of the stem exhibits extreme phenotypic plasticity. Stem modification occurs when the organ alters its physical structure to perform a highly specialized survival job.
The stem modifies itself to solve 5 key problems: storing energy to survive harsh seasons, providing structural support to reach sunlight, protecting itself from threats, taking over the job of photosynthesis in extreme climates, and, finally, rapidly expanding its territory.
Okay, take a look at this. This map right here, this is going to be our guide for the next few minutes. It lays out every single type of stem modification you need to know, perfectly organized. We're going to go through this branch by branch so you can see exactly how all these amazing adaptations are connected.
All right, first up, storage. So think about the problem here. It's a life or death situation for the plant. How do you survive a brutal winter or a scorching drought when you're literally rooted to the spot? The solution, you retreat. You go underground, you build a bunker, and you pack it with enough energy to wait out the crisis. This amazing survival strategy is called perennination.
Okay, let's kick things off with the modifications that happen underground, specifically for storing food. And to make sure this stuff sticks in your brain forever, we're not just going to learn it, we're going to use a secret code.
And here it is. You ready? Say it out loud with me. Please give that zebra cake for storage. I know, it sounds a little crazy, but trust me, this one sentence is the key to unlocking every single underground storage system you need to know for your exam. See how this works? It's brilliant. Each word maps directly to a plant. Please is for potato, give is for ginger, that is for turmeric, zebra gives us Zamikand, and cake gives us Colocasia. Now, let's quickly look at what makes each of these special.
First up, P for potato. This is what we call a stem tuber. Now, the absolute key exam trick here is to understand those little eyes on a potato. They're not just random spots, they are actually nodes with axillary buds. That is the smoking gun, the definitive proof that a potato is a modified stem and not a root. They love asking about that, so lock it in.
Next, G for ginger and T for turmeric. These two are like best friends. You almost always see them together. They are both examples of a rhizome. A rhizome is just a stem that grows horizontally, kind of spreading out under the ground. And yeah, you can see it has nodes and internodes, just like a regular stem. The big takeaway? Ginger and turmeric? They're your go-to examples for a rhizome. And now for our last two from the code, Z and C. Zamikand and Colocasia. These guys are both corms. Now this is important. Unlike the rhizome that grows horizontally, a corm is a condensed, solid stem that grows vertically, straight up and down.
Okay, but wait, here's a classic trap, the kind of thing that can really trip you up. What about an onion? It also stores food underground, right? But look really closely at the diagram. Those fleshy, edible parts that make up the bulk of the onion, those are actually modified leaves. They're called scales. The true stem is just that tiny, compressed little disc at the very bottom where the roots grow from. So the onion is kind of an imposter. Its function is storage, yes, but its structure is primarily leaf, not stem. That's a critical distinction.
Okay, this slide is where a lot of people get tripped up, so let's put it head to head. Rhizome grows horizontal. Corm grows vertical. That is the #1 difference you need to burn into your memory. Just picture it. Ginger spreads out sideways while Zamikand sits upright. Got it? Awesome.
All right, let's pivot to our second big engineering challenge, support. If you're a plant with a weak stem, the race for sunlight is everything. But building a thick, woody trunk is incredibly expensive in terms of energy. So how do you climb your way to the top without going broke?
Above ground, the stem model adapts to solve for structural instability and predation. In climbing plants, the axillary bud becomes a stem tendril, a thin structure that coils around a support to provide vertical stability. Grapevines and the cucurbit family, including pumpkins and cucumbers, utilize this climbing mechanism.
So how are you going to remember the examples? Easy. Just remember this phrase. Stem tendrils are guarding the grapevines. This obviously covers grapevine, and the word guarding is your link to the gourd family. We're talking cucumber, pumpkin, watermelon. Basically, if it's a gourd, it uses stem tendrils.
Okay, so what if the threat isn't about getting up to the light, but about fending off a hungry animal that wants to eat you? The plant needs armor. And what's incredible is that it turns to that exact same structure, the super versatile axillary bud, and reprograms it from a tool for climbing into a weapon for defense. Let's look at this thorn on the Bougainvillea.
Stem thorns. These are hard, sharp, pointy modifications. The two classic examples you have to know are citrus plants like lemons and Bougainvillea. And listen up, here's an absolutely killer neat trick. Thorns are actual modified stems, which means they have vascular tissue inside them. A thorn comes from a stem. A prickle comes from the epidermis. It's just skin deep. And a spine, like on a cactus, that's actually a modified leaf. Now look at the vascular tissue column. Thorns and spines have it. Prickles do not. This is a guaranteed type of question.
Okay, on to problem number 4. Imagine you're a plant trying to live in the desert. In a place that's hot and dry, broad, flat leaves are a fatal liability. They just lose way too much water. So what's the solution? You ditch the leaves and you engineer the stem to become your new set of solar panels.
Some stems just look at the leaves and say, you know what? I can do your job. This might be the most surprising twist of them all. Okay, take a look at this cactus. You see those big, green, fleshy pads, and you think, okay, those are the leaves. I mean, it's totally logical, but they're not. They are actually the plant's stem, flattened out to work like a giant solar panel. In the desert, where every drop of water counts, the real leaves have shrunk down into sharp spines to prevent water loss. So the stem completely steps up and takes over the crucial job of photosynthesis. How cool is that? Now, this strategy of stems pretending to be leaves comes in two main flavors. What we see in that cactus is called a Phylloclade. That's when the whole stem gets modified into a big, flat, leaf-like thing.
In Opuntia, the Phylloclade is flat and broad, increasing surface area to efficiently perform photosynthesis while leaves are reduced to spines. In Euphorbia, the Phylloclade is cylindrical, reducing surface area to minimize water loss while still carrying out photosynthesis.
But then there's another version called a cladode, which you find in plants like asparagus. In that case, it's not the entire stem, just these small, limited growth branches that get flattened and look like leaves.
So how in the world do you tell them apart? Well, the real key is looking at something called internodes. That's just the segments of stem between the spots where leaves or branches grow. A Phylloclade, like our big cactus pad, is made of many internodes. It's the whole stem that's been repurposed. A cladode, on the other hand, like on asparagus, has just one internode. It's really just a single tiny branch playing the part of a leaf. Okay, for our last major category, let's look at how stems help plants spread out and take over new turf, all without making a single seed. This is called vegetative propagation,
Which is just a fancy way of saying how stems help create brand new plants. And instead of just giving you a boring list, we're going to tell a quick story to make these 4 types totally unforgettable.
Our story begins with the runners. I want you to literally picture this, blades of grass and little strawberry plants, and they are running flat across the surface of the soil. And wherever they touch down, they put out new roots and start a new plant. So, runners, run flat. Simple.
The simple way to remember the examples of runners is grass and strawberries are always running.
Next up in our story, we meet the Stolons. Think of mint or jasmine. Now, they don't just run flat, they're a little more dramatic. They send out a branch that makes this cool little arch, up and then back down, sometimes even dipping briefly under the ground before it pops up as a new plant. So Stolons arch.
These examples can be easily remembered by thinking mint and jasmine were stolen.
So let's be super clear on the difference here because it's all about the path they take. A runner is like a straight line right on the surface. A Stolon is like a little bridge, a little arch. If you can just picture that visual difference, you can answer any question they throw at you. Next in the story, we have the suckers.
Suckers initiate their expansion from beneath the soil line, growing diagonally upwards from the base of the mother plant to break the surface. Banana, pineapple, and chrysanthemum plants all propagate via these subterranean suckers.
The simple way to remember suckers is banana and pineapple are crying for sucrose.
This locomotion strategy also translates to aquatic environments. In water, plants utilize offsets, short, thickened, horizontal stems that propagate across the surface. Aquatic plants like Pistia and the water hyacinth reproduce through this method.
Just remember the pizza-eating officer, PI for Pistia and EI for Eichhornia. The officer is for offset. These are your aquatic plants. An offset is just a short, thick runner that connects the parent and the new baby plant on the water surface. So, after digging into all of these incredible adaptations, it becomes pretty clear that calling the stem a simple stalk just doesn't even begin to cover it.
Much better way to think about it is this. The stem is the plant's Swiss Army knife. It's this ultimate multi-tool that can be reconfigured to do almost any job imaginable, adapting to whatever challenges the world throws at it. I mean, just look at this resume. We've seen the stem act as a storage agent, a structural engineer, a security guard, a living solar panel, and a reproduction specialist. It is hands down one of the most dynamic and versatile parts of any plant.